Go. It's good morning from FIDE Master John Curtis. How are you? I've got something very special for you today because I've planned a theme for our day together. And what I want to do is I want to teach you some of the secrets of chess, right? Good day, Trigger. Good morning, Drinking Hobbit. Good morning, Metisticus. And good morning, Unknown Nubit. I want to teach you some of the secrets of chess, right? And in that respect, I've been playing a few games lately. You might see my rating is 2261. I was just hanging around 2200 or struggling to hang around 2200 the other day. And yet somehow I managed to pick up 60 points. So Trigger, firstly I'm going to ask you all a question. Have you seen the game where Jan Nepomniachtchi plays the King's Gambit against the Super Grandmaster and wins in 20 moves? Who's seen that video? Plays the King's Gambit and wins again in 20 moves. Ali Razor, correct. That's right. Drinking Hobbit knows. So, well, Trigger, this is what happens, right? Apparently Jan Nepomniachtchi was doing a thing like a chess preparation training video or whatever, and he was doing preparations for the King's Gambit for a lot of his students and stuff, right? Anyway, he thought, well, I'll use it as a surprise weapon against Ali Reza Firouzja. And he smashed him up in 20 moves with the King's Gambit. How's that, eh? Just opened him up like a can of sardines. Well, what I'm going to do here, I want to show you something about the King's Gambit. And what a great surprise weapon it is. And how to play it, basically. So I'm going to go into my archives, my game archives. And I'm going to go to the advanced search and openings. We're going to look at King's Gambit, right? And games that I played, recent games. Any result, games I won. There you go. Okay, and we'll just search for that. So I'm looking for games I won with the King's Gambit. And what I've been doing is I've purposely been playing the King's Gambit as a surprise weapon recently against different people, right? I'll put rating range, King's Gambit colour. Oh, here it is. Right, so here we are. I think they're King's Gambit games. Oh, we'll have a look. Start with the one here. This is King's Gambit. I want to make sure I get it right. Okay. Oh, it's the King's Gambit. What do you know? All right then. Now have a look at, I'm playing the white pieces. At this stage I'm rated 2,278. The game was only played yesterday, I think. This particular one. I'm playing Demetrius. He's 2,263. He's from Argentina, right? So he's no slouch. Being over 2,200 rating, nearly 2,300 rating, you have to have some respect for him. But we play the King's Gambit. We show no respect at all. Just like Jan Nepomniachtchi did the same thing against Ali Reza. So D5 he plays, right? Now this is one of many ways to play the King's Gambit as black. And if you get in this type of position, the correct play is to just take the pawn off, right? Okay? Because white wants rapid development. And technically speaking, when you play with the Super Grandmasters and the like, they're basically use the computers to eliminate the King's Gambit. But as a surprise weapon, it's a great tool, particularly in 3-minute games and 5-minute games. I believe this is a 3-minute game. You can see the clock, 2 minutes 58 for my opponent. I've got 2 minutes 55, okay? Thank you for the Christmas Teddy's Drinking Hobbit. So he takes the pawn. Now, the first thing you've got to watch out for, obviously, is a check. Now, anyone that watched the Jan Nepomniachtchi game would look at this position and say, well, you've got several options. You could play a move like bishop here. Of course, if he gave you a check, you could move your king here and then hit him with a knight and chase him away, right? That's one way to play it. But I watched Jan Nepomniachtchi play knight f3, and I thought, well, I'll just play knight f3, and I'll just develop my pieces and just try to counter. I won't try to overpress or anything. I'll just try to counter whatever my opponent does. He played knight f6. A very serious move because it just threatens knight takes pawn, and it protects this pawn, right? So I thought, well, I've got to get my pieces out. So I played d4. Straight away, I'm threatening bishop takes pawn. And he's probably thinking, oh, why is he playing the King's Gambit against me? A lot of people all know that this doesn't do much. But the point is the doubts creep in their minds, you see. So when he recaptured with the pawn, I thought, I've got to play a move. And I thought, well, I'll play knight c3, a simple move, because it threatens knight takes knight, and then I can win that pawn again. So in other words, just keep him under pressure to find the correct moves in a short period of time. So that was the logic behind it. And he pinned the knight. Well, I thought, he pins the knight. Well, I'll play bishop to d2, I'll unpin it, and the threat remains the same. I just threaten knight takes knight, don't I? And I win the pawn back, okay? Now, one thing about the King's Gambit is that if you get out, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but they think, oh, King's Gambit, you've got to play a brilliant game, you know, like to win the game. You know, if you're playing King's Gambit, you want a brilliancy. It's not necessarily true. The secret, as outlined in the video recently between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Ali Reza, is that the King's Gambit's very good for getting great endgame positions. And I'm a master of the endgame. And that's what I'm really playing for. I'm not trying to blow my opponent off the board. How can I do that from this position? I certainly can't. He's ready to castle and I'm not, okay? He castled. So I simply took his knight off. He took with the bishop. He's got to save his bishop. Queen takes knight and queen takes pawn. Now, straight away, what we're doing is we're looking at the endgame. I'm threatening a pawn down there. Okay, I want a castle if I can. Oh, I can't. I've got to watch that pawn in some variations. Bleh, yucky pawn. I've also got this option, king to f2, right? King to f2. If he checks me, I can always go there, right? Because he hasn't got any knight checks or anything at the moment, right? So my position's fairly safe. Okay, and my development, I'm still developed. I've only need to move my bishop and my castles are connected. He's got to move 2 pieces, right? So even though my king hasn't castled, if he gave me a check, for instance, bingo, there you go. And suddenly all my pieces are working. Isn't that nice? And I'm still threatening queen takes c-pawn. Anyway, he played knight there. Now, I actually feel in that position, maybe a better move would be to challenge me straight away. If he'd done that, I could have played bishop here and attacked his castle with a tempo. Okay. So that was an option for me. So that's why he probably chose to play knight here. What he's hoping for is queen takes pawn, and then he takes the d pawn, and the resulting complications would be that white would have an attack. But what are we going for? Well, c3. We just simply protect our pawn, We have a decent position. There's no threat to our position. And we're going for an endgame. And in the endgame, we've got all our pawns, 3, 4 pawns out of 6 on black squares. Okay, and I've mentioned in quite a few videos, Drinking Hobbit, I've mentioned that when you've got a bishop on white squares, see how the bishop moves fluidly between the pawns? For the endgame, it's very important you put your pawns on black squares if you can. And we've got a lovely pawn chain here, nice pawn chain, and it restricts the black pieces. That's why in this position, the most challenging moves are moves like knight here and knight there with an early knight check or a knight check here. And if you can get the timing right, okay. So that's probably the most dangerous way for black to play it. But what he's played is very passive. Give me the check, king there, and knight there, and pawn here. So white would have to have the advantage here, okay? Only a slight advantage, but still an advantage nonetheless. And he played bishop there. Oh, I said, thank you very much. I took the bishop off. Now, why did he play bishop there? Well, he's 2263, and the fact is, in that position, he can't find a move. He hasn't really got a decent move, right? He's worried about this pawn, right? He's worried about the pawn. So he thought, oh, maybe white's pre-moves. And maybe white's pre-moves. So if he's pre-moves, I'll play bishop here. If he's taken the pawn, I can bust his king. Anyway, that's what's happened. In this case, this is not a great example, but queen takes bishop. And he played rook e6. Well, I just got my bishop working. And the bishop working is a great move. This move here. See, he's actually threatening to play rook here and attack my queen, right? So not only when he plays this move, he's threatening rook there, but when I play my move, I stop him. I develop a piece, but I stop him playing there, right? So he's just a clear piece down. And he played rook there. And all this has happened, the blunder of the piece and everything else, is just because the pressure. They crack under pressure. Seriously, they do. Doesn't matter whether they're 2200 or even 2300, right? So I played rook there. And rook takes, rook there, and queen there. And I'm just threatening the change of queens. And you can see I'm lining up with the pawn with check, okay? He changed queens. Well, that's a one endgame. So I'm going to go back. I mean, that was a bit too easy. He gave me a piece, but we'll have a look at this game. Now, this game is against a player 2,280. Right. So we've got a King's Gambit. We're playing Bendy Toenail. He's only 20 points off 2,300 Drinking Hobbit. Right, and good morning, Matisticus. I saw that you resubscribed, and I want to thank you, my friend. God bless you, and I hope Christmas brings you many blessings. Pawn takes pawn. Now, this guy, instead of playing d5, he's chosen the King's Gambit accepted. That is, he's accepted the gambit. So now, in this position, knight to f3. I'm just following what Jan Nepomniachtchi did against Ali Reza. Except this time, I'm going to follow it a little bit better. You watch. d5. Pawn takes pawn. I'll just take it off. I want open lines. You played bishop d6, and that's one of the main lines. I played bishop c4. I thought, well, I've got an extra pawn, haven't I? I've got 5, 6, 7 pawns. Oh, he's got 7. Yeah, we've both got 7 pawns. He played knight there. I thought, well, I'll castle. Because in the King's Gambit, you've got to castle early. So he castled, and I played knight c3. I thought, well, no, I'm just going to hold that pawn and just let him worry about it. I could play d4, but I thought, no, I'll just hold the pawn first. and see what he does. I want to see what move he makes before I actually choose to do anything. Then he played knight there. Well, this is an interesting developing move because it protects that pawn. So I just decided, well, I like to put my knight on e4. I'd be happy to take that black bishop, sir. I'd like to take the bishop because what I'm looking for is that endgame again. Because I know from the King's Gambit you can get really nice endgame positions. And at this stage I say white's got a small plus but nothing in it. A negative for white would be the double pawns. That's a negative, right? And a positive for white would be the pressure along the F file. Right? So he played bishop there to pin my knight. Okay, so I played d4. Finally chose to put my pawn in the middle. And I'm actually looking at playing knight here too as well. I like the knight there, but it doesn't do too much. But I was looking at it. As I say, it's only a 3-minute game. We've got 2 minutes and 37 seconds on the clock. And the whole idea of playing like this in Blitz is to just keep the pressure on your opponent. Don't let them know what you're playing. And the clock's ticking over. And it doesn't matter if Drinking Hobbit's only 1200 rating or 1500 rating. It doesn't matter. You can beat these guys too. All you do is you move quickly and keep your position solid, right? And do the unexpected. As long as you make sure you don't blunder. And that's the hard part for beginners, blundering, right? Anyway, so he played rook there. This is a good developing move. It threatens my knight. This is where you're going to put the knight. So I took his bishop and I thought, well, I'll be consistent. And his queen recaptured. So, okay. So now I've got to come up with a plan. I'm slightly better developed than him, but I've got this problem with this damn pawn. All right, so I played pawn there. I was hoping that he would just take the knight off. And he did. Well, isn't he helpful? Because now when I recapture with the queen, I'm simply threatening bishop takes pawn and going for the endgame. Right? Remember I said that out of the King's Gambit, you get lots of good endgames. So he played pawn there, and I thought, well, that's okay. I like that. I'm going to play pawn here, protect my pawn, but I'm not going to do anything. Right? If I'd done this move, if I'd played pawn takes pawn, right? He's got queen takes pawn check. He's on my bishop and he breaks through. Well, I don't want that. I want a nice pawn structure for my endgame, right? Okay? So that's why I'm playing pawn there, just fortified my pawn structure. And he played knight here. And I thought, well, great. He's finally... Because in this position, he's still got to answer certain questions. And the questions are, he's got a double pawn, right? But now I had double pawns, but I've no longer got double pawns in my position. But I've got lots of activity, and he's got 2 pieces blocked in that position. Now, he knows if he takes the pawn, well, I can just recapture with the bishop or the queen, and he doesn't like any of that. So he decides to get a knight out. Big mistake. I just simply take his pawn off, right? And now he's got this problem. Now he's got busted pawns on the queen side, right? He's only got 2 pawns left. I've got 4, right? So for the purposes of the end game, I've got a 4-2 majority. So imagine you've got an army. Two armies are facing off at each other. One army's got 400,000 men, and the other army's got 200,000 men. Well, I think the army with 400,000 men would be the favourite, don't you? And it's exactly the same in chess. So if you've got 4 pieces to 2 pieces, the mathematics are the same. And chess is a game of mathematics. Okay, so let's see what he does. He's basically smashed up in the end game here. It's a structured middle end game. So he moves the bishop back. Well, in this position, lots of moves win, but I actually chose this move, bishop here. I thought, why give him any chances to threaten me? So I thought, well, I could play bishop here. And it's just simply threatens bishop takes pawn check. It's just a simple move. And also it threatens queen takes pawn, right? And it threatens to hit his queen here too. So I'm threatening all those different things, right? 3 threats in one move. Well, that's a good idea. And he played knight there. So I thought, well, okay, I'll hit his queen. I won't be greedy. I won't go for the pawn. I'll just hit his queen and keep the clock ticking over. I probably should take the pawn, but I thought it might be a bit complicated. And overall, I've got 6 pawns, remember, and my opponent's only got a couple of pawns, right? He's only got 5, right? So anyway, he goes over there. He wants to threaten this pawn. He's desperate for counterplay, okay? So I'll tell you what I did. I just moved my bishop back 1 square, and I thought, well, I've still got all my same threats, and he's all tied up. He played queen there, and I could see what he was trying to do. He's hoping that I'll go bishop here, and then he gets the piece for nothing, because the queen is pinning the pawn against the king. And because I identified that the queen was pinning the pawn against the king, I simply moved my king, and so that eliminates that idea that he had. And then he played c5. Well, this is a natural move, but remember we spoke about the mathematics of the queen side, and we said we had a 4-2 majority. G'day, Buffer, LOL. John Curtis. G'day, John Cardiff. Oh, you sent me a whisper. Thank you. I needed your address, Johnny. The other guy, I mailed it out yesterday or day before yesterday. His is already on the way. His package. Right, so he plays... right, so we're looking at King's Gambit games, John Cardiff. So he plays c5. Right, so he wanted to free it up. But what I was just discussing, I was discussing the 4-2 relationship on the queen side, and how 4 pawns to 2 pawns is double the number of the attack. But when he eliminates 1 pawn, we get 3 to 1. We no longer got 50% chance of winning. We got 3 to 1. What's that? What are the odds there? 66%. So we've gone from 50% chance of winning to 66% on the queen's line, queen's pawn, queen side, because of the pressure there. Anyway, so what do I do? Well, I don't take the pawn. I just play bishop there. The whole idea is I want to smash his king, don't I? Remember, the bishop in the King's Gambit always goes down to that pawn there. So now if he plays knight takes, right? So if he plays knight takes knight, and I recapture with the pawn, okay? If he moves his knight, well, bang, smasherooski here with this big triple up there, right? Whoops. Triple up attack along here. So that's what we're looking at. So that's why we don't take the pawn. And we know that if he takes the pawn, well, we can just recapture with the bishop. He gets a spike check, we move back, and then we just blast him off the board anyway. So he's got real problems with 1 minute and 26 seconds on the clock. All right, so he takes us a pawn, so we took back, and he gave us a check, which is a good move, and then we played king there. And so now our king is perfectly safe. We still have our queen side majority, and our opponent's position is basically busted. We've got the 2 raking bishops. It's another thing that happens in the King's Gambit. If you often can get the 2 bishops, and as the position becomes open, like a flower, the 2 bishops can be pretty deadly, as they are here. So he played knight hits queen, and I simply played queen back here, because in case he wants to put some checkmate pressures on here, And I'm threatening queen takes knight, right? And I've still got all my other threats. So he went back. So I just took his rook with check. He can't take with the knight because the pawn's on again, right? That triple attack down there. So he can't take with the knight. So he takes with the rook and then bang, bishop takes pawn. That's right. Now I've got 300% to 0 pawns over there. And at the same time, I've still got all my pressure down here. So it hasn't gone away. The pressure hasn't gone away. The pressure's just increased. So he played queen there, so I just went back there with the bishop. Now I've still got the same threats. Can you see what I'm doing here? I'm just dismantling his mind, okay? That's what we're doing. So he plays rook there. Just play queen there and say, all right then, buddy, you want to change pieces? We'll change pieces. He played queen there. Well, that doesn't do much, does it? He's got one check here, and what else has he got? Well, not much. So I played queen there because I'm still protecting this pawn, right? And he played knight there. He wanted to put more pressure on here, but he forgot about something. The weakest square on the board, and that's correct. You can see it, can't you, Johnny Cardiff? Queen takes pawn, check, right? King here, and check. Knight returns there, and queen takes knight, check is mate, right? Bang. And that's the end of the game. So he might have 3 pieces all finally attacking my king, but by then the whole game's over anyway. It's too easy, wasn't it? And that's how I beat Bendy Toenail in 31 moves. So we're going to go back to another King's Gambit game here. And this one we're playing Batzelman. He's 22.75. So again, we're looking at the King's Gambit, right? Whoa, bingo. King's Gambit again. So I purposely chose the King's Gambit in my games recently. So I was hoping, if I can get a couple of 30-move wins and 20-move wins. And this King's Gambit game against this 2275 player, I beat him in 22 moves. That's right. So let's have a look. So he played d6. He played quietly. Oh, big worry playing quiet against the King's Gambit. So we played knight f3. Just the main line, just get the pieces working. Straight away, we're attacking the pawn in the middle, but we're not really threatening to take it. It's more about development than threatening to take a pawn. Oh, he took the pawn. So this is the King's Gambit accepted, the Fisher variation. This is the variation that Bobby Fischer suggested. So I played d4, and now I'm threatening to recapture my pawn with a great game, okay? I think Bobby suggested g5. Let's see what my opponent does. Oh, he plays knight there. This is a different variation. So I just get my knight working and defend the pawn, and I'm still attacking that one. What's he going to do about that? Well, he did nothing. So now I've just got full, complete development, unhindered development, and I've still got that semi-open file on the F file. So I thought, well, what do I do here? So I thought, well, he played bishop there. I thought, well, I'll play queen e2. Why did I play queen e2? Oh, why did I play queen e2? I'll tell you why I played queen e2. Because I saw Jan Nepomniachtchi play it against Alireza Firouzja. And I thought, well, okay, it's an unusual move, but in the game that Jan Nepomniachtchi played against Alireza with the King's Gambit, he played queen to e2 so he could castle queenside quickly and play e5. Not only that, in some variations, queen checks can be dead lead, just threatening to take a pawn off. If you sit there and do nothing, you'll get blasted. You know, he moved his bishop back big mistake. You can't do that against the FIDE master. Anyway, so I castled. Now, in actual fact, queen checks might have been a better move, right? But I was happy to castle because I've basically got all my heavy artillery working. The only piece I can't move is this one. But we'll get there. So he played pawn there. So I played e5. I thought, well, that's what Yarnep of Niachi did. Okay. And now, of course, if he doesn't do anything, I can take the pawn off and I'll win a bishop. So he's got to do something, right? If he plays pawn takes pawn, we just recapture with the pawn and we're on the queen. And if he plays knight here, well, we can play knight takes knight, pawn take, pawn recaptures, and then the queen check, and the d pawn will fall, okay? Right, so the King's Gambit seems to be working fine. Anyway, he took the bishop off, right? And now I've got a choice. I've got a choice. Do I take with the queen or do I take with the bishop? Maybe taking with the pawn's best, but we'll see. I took with the queen, and I'm threatening pawn takes knight. And the other idea, remember, if my bishop goes to c4, okay, remember I'm starting this attack again down here. Okay, can you see that? And he hasn't developed yet, he hasn't castled, and we've got our major piece, our rook in the game, and we're just threatening to, that'd be complete development. That would be a beautiful position. So that's why I recaptured with the queen. Recapturing with the pawn was pretty strong though. Oh, he played pawn takes pawn. Well, buddy, you're in trouble here. Pawn takes pawn. Now I'm threatening his knight, and I've done nothing brilliant. I've done absolutely nothing brilliant with the King's Gambit here. Nothing. And now he plays knight there. Well, I could have just played knight takes knight, right? And I would have had 6 pawns, and he would have had 5, and he'd be busted, right? After knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, rook takes, and bishop check, and then he's finished, right? Yeah, that just wins. But I thought, why do I have to do that? I can just develop my pieces. I could take it later. So I played bishop c4. I just increased the pressure on this line, right? He castled. So I played knight takes knight. He played pawn takes, and I played bishop takes pawn. I'm simply threatening bishop takes pawn wins a rook. I'm threatening bishop checks wins a queen. All white's pieces, all the squares are maximised, right? What a wonderful King's Gambit game, eh? I was very pleased with myself, especially seeing he's nearly 2,300. So he played queen there, and then I was looking at moves like pawn here, right, to try to just smash his king, right? There's a few complications after pawn there, but perhaps it might be the best move. It might be the best move. I played queen there. I think e6 was much stronger. Anyway, played queen there, and then I just played bishop to rook 6 because my queen here move was a double threat, and now, of course, I'm threatening a checkmate, and I've still got pawn here as well. So I've got lots of options, so I'm just having fun. And the King's Gambit is all about having fun, isn't it? Saber's partition. And yes, you're quite right, Saber's partition. Spassky loved the King's Gambit. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I play it, because I always remember the game Bobby Fischer against Spassky, where Spassky smashed up Bobby Fischer with the King's Gambit. G6 was played, so I thought, well, I'll just take his rook off. And now he's in big bother. He's really got to recapture. He hasn't got time for knight takes pawn because of queen takes queen, and I saved this bishop, see? Well, I've got 41 seconds left and I don't want to lose on time. He took with the bishop. Now, I took a pawn with check, king takes, rook takes, knight check. I'm coming in on the white squares. He played king there, played check there, king there, check there. He can't put the bishop in, must go there, check there, king. Oh, he didn't move. But the next move is king here and queen takes pawn mate. So, okay. So that was all right, wasn't it? 22 moves, a 23 move checkmate, forced checkmate. And that's how we disposed of Batselman from the United States. 2,275 with the King's Gambit. And so that was Batselman. Now here we got another one, but this time we're playing Surak. Surak, he's 2243. I played Rubenus too. Wonder how I beat Surak so quickly. King's Gambit, 35 moves. We'll just play through the moves quickly. Just see how it's done. Nice little King's Gambit. This guy's 2243. He takes, this is King's Gambit accepted. Again, we just play knight f3. He plays g5. So he plays the Bobby Fischer line, right? So he played d4 and just get the pieces out. He played there. I played knight here, mainly just to control that square and that one. Perhaps bishop here might have been more accurate. I think it was more accurate. He played pawn there. I played bishop there now, so no problems. He played pawn here, and I castled. Like most King's Gambits, all I want to do is keep that in that pressure on that f7 pawn, indirect pressure. So he developed a knight, and I thought, well, how can I get him? So I thought, well, I'll start attacking him. He obviously can't castle queenside. He's got all that blocked. So logic says if he wants to castle kingside, I'll try to smash him up. So he played knight there. He's keeping his position fortified. Bit of a problem. So I played pawn here. I'm trying to cause pressure. I want to cause pressure on my opponent. So I'm trying to destabilise his pawn structure. Unfortunately, at the same time, I'm weakening my own king, right? So a move like bishop here looks really strong. Might have to actually sacrifice a piece. I don't know what I'd do if he did that. I might even play pawn here. Just to be difficult, just to be a real pain in the butt. Anyway, I played bishop g4, so I played queen d3, right? Yeah, I thought bishop h3 was much better. He played c6. Now I've got to get 2 moves to complete my development. I've got to play bishop here and a rook here to complete my development. But with the King's Gambit, sometimes you can just break through. I played knight there because I thought to myself, oh, in case he starts pushing pawns and attacking me, I'll move the knight back already, but I'm putting pressure on his f-pawn again. Still with the same idea of attacking that f7 pawn. The difference now is if he plays bishop here, I can play rook here and I'm all right. Right, so if he plays bishop there, I can play rook here because he hasn't got pawn takes pawn with the tempo. So he played pawn there, he wanted to take my queen, so I took, oh no, I thought I was going to take it. I didn't take it. Oh, I'll tell you why. I've got to tell you why, haven't I? If you imagine this position, the king is castled, right? And he's taken that pawn off and I take that pawn off. Well, I could actually take that knight then. because if the king is here, say the king is on that square, and that pawn's here, right? And I take the pawn, then I want to take the knight. If his king's here, he can't take back with the pawn because the bishop will put him in check, right? So I'm looking about 4 or 5 moves deep here, but you don't have to look. All you've got to do is, have faith in the King's Gambit, because a lot of these types of combinations present themselves if you just put your pieces on the right squares. That's what it's all about. Oh, look, you can see it's even getting ready. Have a look at this pawn structure here that I've been attacking. Well, it's all ready to go, isn't it? So, I pushed past. Oh, I've got a new plan now. Yeah, I pushed past. I knew he might not take. He'd just leave me there looking stupid. He might play knight here and knight there to complete his development. And if I give him time, he's going to be nasty to me. But what I want to do is I want to play c4. See that? c4. And then if he takes and bishop takes, right, so I play c4, pawn takes, bishop takes, then the bishop would be pinning the pawn against the king, and then I could play queen takes knight again. I'm just looking at this little combination. I want to take his knight off. Anyway, so he played bishop there and he took that. I thought, well, okay. So I took with the queen, and now I've still got pressure on his pawn structure. Basically what he's got is he's trying to hold the black squares, and I'm trying to invade on the white squares. That's really what it's all about. So he took a pawn off, and I'm thinking, that can't be right, can it? Anyway, so I took a pawn too. And then he took a pawn. So I played c4. Yeah, so that's straight away I wanted to come in and attack his weak f pawn down here. I'm not really worried about these pawns here. They don't do anything. They're not upsetting me, so why should I upset them? I just want to get open lines for my pieces. Anyway, he played queen there. That's a little trick move, right? He's trying to be tricky. God love him. He's trying to be tricky. Yeah, so he wants to play knight takes pawn, see? And I can't take back because I'll be in check. So he's virtually putting the twister on me. It's like he's playing twister with me. So I played king to h1. Now, it'd be a big mistake to play king here because knight checks would win the queen, right? The king would be in check. So the correct move is king to h1. Okay, I've got 1 minute and 55 and Surak 58's got 1 minute and 10 seconds. So he plays c5. He wants to open up the game. So I thought to myself, okay, let's open up the game. So I played queen takes pawn. And now I want to play bishop takes pawn and finish off that king if I can. Anyway, what does he do? He plays pawn takes pawn. So I play queen takes pawn. I want to get my pieces up there in front of his king. I don't know that that's the best move. I played knight there. So I pushed the pawn on his knight. That's to confuse him. But that's not a bad move. Anyway, he played queen takes pawn. So what did I do then? Oh, I played knight there just to attack his queen. See, I'm threatening his pawn as well. And his king is starting to get a bit more open, isn't it? All right? And that's the idea. Oh, I was happy to exchange here for some reason. I won't leave him alone. I'm both short of time. He's got 31 seconds, so we just recapture the pawn. Let's have a positional assessment. Well, he's got 4 pawns. I've only got 2. I've got open lines, but haven't got enough. So black is slightly in front here. probably winning. Bishop there, just moving back. He's playing knight here. Interesting move. Play rook there, and I just pin his bishop. Just put pressure on him. I'm actually threatening bishop here. It's a real threat. So he takes the bishop, but when the rook takes, now there's a new threat, and that is the f pawn. See how that pawn's pinned? His king has got no shelter over here because he's got no pawns in front of his king. See, his king's naked. So he's got 19 seconds. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll play rook here and double up on the bishop and just see what he does. He hasn't got a check. So he played king there, and then I thought, well, oh, great. I'll play king here, and I'm threatening rook takes bishop. But more importantly, I'm threatening a mating attack. So he played bishop there, and I thought, well, good. So I pinned his bishop. I thought, that's a good little idea. Pin his bishop. Oh, I could have taken the pawn. Yeah, I could have just snatched a pawn. But I thought, oh, why? I'll just pin his bishop and see what he does. Because he's under time pressure. He's got 7 seconds left. So I thought, well, I'll double the rooks on his bishop. Just let him worry about it. He gave me a check. I went back. He gave me another check. I went back again. And he pushed the pawn on. So I took a pawn. And then I think he resigned. He wasn't very happy with the position. He must have resigned. That's the end of the game. Yeah, so there you go. But that's basically it. Even this position could be a draw after a rook here or something. Yeah, so but that's how you play the King's Gambit. We'll go back. So who we look at? Was that that last game? That was 35, wasn't it? What happened there? 9 moves, he resigned. Rubinus the Magic. 21 moves, King's Gambit. I beat Rubinus. I beat Fritzy Shark with the King's Gambit. But I was black. Oh, Fritzy Shark tried to play the King's Gambit against me and I was black. I beat Fritzy Shark in 18 moves. Oh, that's probably worth having a look at that. King's Gambit as black. Me playing black. 18 moves against the Fritzy. Rubinus, this is a pretty game. How did that game go? This guy really didn't like that game. Oh, what I was going to do is I was going to show you some games from yesterday. Sicilians. Oh, that's what I want to show you. Some Sicilians from yesterday. So we had a look at the King's Gambit. And what else I want to show you, Sabre's Partition, Johnny Cardiff. I want to show you the, thank you, Buffer. I love you too. What I want to show you is some, I showed you some King's Gambit games. And now I want to show you some Sicilian games. So how to smash with the Sicilian. So, and the theme here today is E4. It's all about E4. King's Gambit is an E4 opening. So if they don't let you play the King's Gambit, they play a Sicilian or something, well, I want to show you how to smash the Sicilian, right? So we're going to go into the archives again, and I played these games yesterday, and I did some Sicilian smashes for you. Oh, by the way, I played a Grandmaster yesterday. I'll show you that game first. Oh, I beat a FIDE master, Abbas, yesterday. Yeah, I'll show you this game here. This is a Grandmaster. We got some Grandmaster blood on our hands. We only took a half a point off him, right? So we got a draw against the Grandmaster yesterday. Just to show you that I'm the real deal, right? I'm not just all talk. I play Grandmasters and they don't beat me. Sometimes I beat them, right? But you all know that I beat Chessbra. Anyway, this is a Grandmaster Volodya, right? That's his name. He's a Grandmaster, and we'll have a look at him. It's Grandmaster Volodya 49. He's actually playing right now. And he's from Serbia. And his rating here is 23. His rating's gone down. Gee, it was when I played him yesterday. Oh, it might be a different format. He's 2,524 against me in this game. His 3-minute rating is 2,524. And I've got the black pieces. So I haven't even got the white ones. I've got the black pieces against a strong Grandmaster. And here we go. And this is how it's done. He plays d4. The Grandmaster plays d4, Grandmaster Volodya. We play knight to f6, just simply controlling that square and that one, trying to get some influence in the centre. And the Grandmaster plays c4. Now here, the dynamics of the position are, white wants to just play simply knight c3 and push this pawn and get a massive pawn centre, sit behind it and squeeze you to death. That's what the Grandmasters like to do. They don't like to do anything fantastic or overexpose themselves. They just get all their pieces on the right squares when they're white, and then they just sort of try to choke you to death. And if you're a beginner and you make a little mistake here or there, they punish you. And, it's like a snowball coming down the mountain, down a ski mountain. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger until finally just blows you off the map of the earth. And so I didn't want him to blow me off the map of the earth, so I played g6. It's the King's Indian defence, my friends. Now I've got a choice. Can I switch this to a Grunfeld with d5? Oh, I did. There you go. I've turned the King's Indian into a Grunfeld just to confuse them. You know, sometimes I've heard rumours are spread that some of these guys don't like the Grunfeld. But they know what to do. They know the basics, you know. Anyway, he took the pawn off, so I recaptured. And he played e4. This is all theory. Knight takes, knight, pawn takes. And I played bishop g7, right? One of the games that Bobby Fischer played was a Grunfeld. I think one of the games in the World Championship Bobby Fischer played against Spassky. We were talking about Spassky and how he liked the King's Gambit. Well, I'm pretty sure that there's a Grunfeld in there somewhere. Anyway, bishop e3. I played c5. The whole idea is here with the Grunfeld, you're supposed to, if you can't take the pawn because the bishop takes pawn check, right? So you try to get a counter-attack against the centre. I mean, really, I like white's position better than I do black's. But this is something else that I want to talk to you about, and that is, a lot of people say, oh, John, what's a good opening for black? What's a good opening for white, right? How can I play safe? Well, I don't want you to play safe. I want you to enjoy your chess. And if you're enjoying your chess means that what you have to do is you've got to lose lots of games to get better, well, do it. Just play 3-minute games or 5-minute games, whatever your pace is, your personal pace, and experiment. I want you to experiment. Before Spassky became the great world champion that he was, he used to experiment a lot, and he lost a lot of games. But the point is, he found himself. By experimenting and finding out, analysing his games afterwards, and seeing where he could have made small improvements, he slowly improved incrementally until finally he was this magnificent master of the chess game, master of the attacking game. And he would, initially in his early years, I read that he used to, and maybe his trainer too, his personal trainer, probably encouraged him to play gambits, right? He might have sensed that he was a naturally gifted attacking player, and so he wanted him to play gambits, and so he could be the best gambit player, or so he could be the best attacking player, improve his attacking skills. We all know to be a true world champion, you need to be a good positional player as well as an attacking player. You need all the skills, just like Magnus Carlsen's got. Anyway, queen to d2. Now, queen to d2's got several purposes. You can, in some variations, you can play rook to d1. You can overprotect your pawn. In other variations, now that the queen's here, you're able to play bishop to h6 and try to get rid of the bishop on the long diagonal. Okay, so that's the idea of queen to d2. So I took the pawn off, and he recaptured. Then I played knight there. Now the point is, if he pushes the pawn forwards on the knight, I could take his castle off, right? And I knew he wouldn't like that. So he played knight there. So I thought, well, I'll attack the piece that's defending the piece, right? So I'm attacking the piece that's defending the piece. In other words, now he still can't push his pawn, okay? But I'm actually threatening bishop takes knight, and if the pawn takes the bishop back, I've got 1, 2, 3 pieces on the pawn. So what does the Grandmaster do? Well, he pins the knight, that's right. Well, I actually thought a better move might have been rook to d1. I thought that might have been better, but the Grandmaster says no bishop here because the Grandmaster also prepares to castle. Huh? So I thought, well, okay, if he goes there, I'll take his knight. I'm going to try to weaken his pawn structure a little bit. And he took the pawn, and I thought, now I'll castle. Now that I've castled, I've achieved 2 things. 1, I've broken the Grandmaster's kingside. So his kingside's got a little weakness, not a big weakness, just a little weakness. I'm still threatening knight takes pawn. Okay? All right then. I wonder if I overlooked something here. Anyway, this is what he did. He took the knight. I'll tell you why. There's a bit of a trap there. I'll show you can I show you the trap? How about this one? Rook here, right? And you think, oh, but that holds everything. No, it doesn't. Knight takes pawn. Bishop takes. Bishop takes. Now, if he does nothing, we just play pawn here. We've got a fantastic bishop. If he takes the bishop off, we give him a check, right? And we take a bishop. And we've got 6 pawns against 5, and he can't castle with the Grandmaster smashed. How's that? Smash the Grandmaster. That's what I do here on my channel, smash Grandmasters. Right, so the Grandmaster saw all that, the rotten, filthy Grandmaster. No, he's a good bloke. He's probably a very nice man. No, so he saw my threat though, so that's why he played bishop there instead of rook to d1. Right, so I castled. I'm threatening knight takes pawn, and then he played bishop takes knight. He doesn't want to muck around. pawn takes bishop, and now he's got a problem. His problem is that I'm threatening pawn here. Right? Okay. I've got 6 pawns, and he's got 6 pawns, but he's got those double pawns, and his king's weak, right? Okay. So he played rook there, and I played rook here. I don't know about that move. I actually think queen here was better, but let's have a look and see what took place. He castled, so I played queen here. So there's no difference. I still want to play rook here, right? And black's got a reasonably comfortable game. So he played king there. He's a bit worried about my thing. Now, you know what? The Grandmaster's looking at the clock. He says, I've got to beat this guy on time, right? This is what the Grandmaster's thinking. He's got to beat me on time. So he defends his pawn in the middle. So I thought, I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to win on time. So I thought, I'll do this to him and set a trap. Right? And this is a standard move in the Grunfeld. F5, if you have a look at the Fischer-Spassky game, where the Grunfeld was played by Bobby Fischer, you'll see F5 was played in the game. In a similar sort of position, but not the same, right? But it's often used as a tool against the central pawn configuration. Anyway, but what the Grandmaster does is he makes a mistake. So I took the pawn off and I gave him a check. The poor old Grandmaster, he's in a mess now. This is what I do to Grandmasters. I put him in a mess. There we go. So now his king's real shit, right? The Grandmaster's king is real shit. G'day, Sam. I'm showing you, yeah, but I didn't beat that women's Grandmaster. I was beating her, but I didn't win the game. But this is I'm playing Grandmaster Volodya here. He's actually a men's Grandmaster, and he's much stronger than that women's Grandmaster. He's 2,524. Okay? You can see his rating there, 2,524. Anyway, so I've got this position, and I'm threatening pawn here. That's a real threat. And the Grandmaster's king's weak too. So what does he do? We played queen there. He doesn't like me. He wants to threaten. He wants to put pressure on my pawn. I should probably take that. I should take his queen. Black's winning the game here. Black's winning. Black's winning this position. It's a simple way to win this would be maybe queen takes queen. The position what ended up being a draw. Actually, in the game, I played queen here, right? And the game went on to be a draw. But black could probably win with queen takes queen, rook takes, pawn to bishop 4. You can't take it, right? You can't take the pawn. And black's winning. So if you push the pawn, black can play. Oh, no, you can't. Doesn't work. You can play here. He can go there. The pawn's starting to look dangerous, isn't it? You can play bishop there. That's probably just another draw. Just another draw. Yeah, okay. Oh, you got bishop here. Anyway, I'll show you what I played. I played queen f6, and he played rook there. He starts out playing me here. I played e5. I want to free up my game. He took the pawn off. I took his rook. He took. I took. He took, and I took. So if you have a look at the position here, the Grandmaster, the great Grandmaster, he's got 3 pawns and I've got 4. So it's just a win for me, right? See, he played bishop there and I play rook here. Well, he's got no play now. So from a technical perspective, it's just an advantage to black, right? Anyway, he played king there. He wants to get his king underneath my pawn here. Good blockade, right? So I gave him a check. And he played king here. And then I thought, oh, I'll set a trap for him. So I played pawn here. And the trap is, if he plays rook here, I play bishop here. And then he can't take the pawn because a bishop checks wins the rook, right? So imagine he's taken the pawn with the rook. I play bishop checks. So that's the plan. But he being a Grandmaster, he sees it, the filthy dog. So I played. So I still want to get me check in. So I play the bishop back to give him the check. And now he cuts the bishop off. Eh? What a rotten Grandmaster. So I played rook here, which is the best move. And he took my bishop. And now I'm still, this is a draw now. This is a drawn position, I think. He played rook hits pawn. And probably my best move is rook hits pawn. My best move is probably just rook here. But I don't think I'm winning, okay? Anyway, position went here. We finally got that position where I won another pawn. So I'm always winning a pawn against the Grandmaster. So the Grandmaster was never winning. Anyway, so he played king there and I went there and he went there. And I hit his rook. And the whole idea is I offered him a draw and he's got 39 seconds and he accepted a draw. So, because the position's just a draw, I just go rook takes pawn, right? And he can come here and threaten checkmate, but I just check him and he runs away. So that doesn't do anything. So, see, his best move is rook takes pawn. And that's basically just a draw. Let me just go here. It's just a drawn game. Check. King here and king takes pawn. Just a draw. Yeah, so that was my game against Grandmaster Volodya. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I want to say hello to... I want to thank John Carter for the 100 bits, Johnny. I'll check out that message that you sent me, and you said you sent it in on Twitch Whispers or whatever. Okay, so I'll check that out, and no doubt I'll send off that Grandmaster package to you with Grandmaster Ian Rogers' autograph on them. There's the 4 magazines, the 5, not 4. Some people only got 4 in the earlier packages. You're going to get 5 magazines, right? That'll be them. And you can see Grandmaster Ian Rogers has autographed each one of them. This one's 40 years old from his library. 40 years old from the Grandmaster's library, personal library. So it's a nice little gift you've won there, my dear friend Johnny Cardiff. You'll see him in the chat there. And yeah, I'd like to give out more. I'll tell you what I'll do. I've got these beautiful magazines. When I'm finished reading these ones myself, I might even give these ones out. These are special. Oh, they're so beautiful. I mean, I'll show you this one here. Look at this guy here. Look at this handsome man. Hey? You all know who that is. And this is some magazine. There's Kasparov playing Vichy Anand. And the many faces of Kasparov, to arguably one of the greatest players that's ever lived in the annals of human history. Of course, Carlsen wants to take away that title. But you've got to remember, you can't compare Carlsen's reign as a world champion, and you can't compare his reign as a world champion with Garry Kasparov, because Carlsen uses chess engines, okay? There were no chess engines when Garry Kasparov was winning his world title matches against Karpov and others, right? There's no comparison. So he was pre-computers. He was the last man standing to actually beat the world chess champion computer. And we go back to the matches of Deep Blue and Deep Thought. They were the two computers that I think Kasparov played. I actually beat a world chess champion computer myself. Going right back, I was 19 years of age. I think the computer was out of Northwestern University in the United States, and it was the world chess champion computer. And they said, "Oh, John, would you like to play the computer world chess champion?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to do that." And so they set me up in the old control data. Control data computers in those days were as big as IBM, right? They were one of the biggest computer mobs in the world. And they had offices at North Sydney and Sydney. And so I played the world computer chess champion, and I beat it 3 times. So that's right. So my results against the World Computer Chess Championship is 3 for me and none for the Computer World Chess Champion. And I'm going to rest on that to the day I die. I beat the World Computer Chess Champion at the time, before they developed their programs to such a high level. Right. So I did say that we'd be looking at we've looked at Grandmaster, my game against Grandmaster Volodya from yesterday. And now we did say that we're going to be looking at some Sicilian games. I was talking about how, I've got messages here. What are the messages they're saying? Someone was cheating on the computer, I'll bet. No, I've got some friends. I've got a friend. I've got one friend in the world. I said to M Triple, he challenged me. This is 1600. He challenged me to 5 games yesterday, and I said to him, I said, you had a 1 game against me in the 5th game, and he missed the winning continuation, so I beat him 5-0. I'm going to go to the archive from yesterday, and I'm going to look at Sicilian games. What's today? December 22. Yeah, 21 yesterday. This might be one of them. We can have a look at this game. This is I'm playing National Master Al Crosso. He's over 100 rating points higher than me. But in the particular game here, lasts only 20 minutes, I played with 91.3% accuracy. He played with 76.4%. So it wasn't one of his best games. But we'll have a look at that anyway, just for starters. I hope it's a Sicilian. Yes, Sicilian, there we go. So what I'm trying to do is show you how to smash the Sicilian. Right? Now, and one of the things I also said to you about trying to improve is if you play white against the Sicilian systems and you beat them well, and you come up against stronger and stronger players playing Sicilian systems and they start beating you, that's good. That's a good thing. Don't see it as a negative. because that means that you can play the black side of the Sicilian, because you start not being an expert on how to attack it, and then you see the best defences from the Sicilian, so you can play both sides. That's what I do. So I'm happy to play the Sicilian, and I'm happy to smash the Sicilian, right? And that comes from trial and error, trial and error. So what I don't want my grasshoppers to do, your sensei, grasshoppers, your sensei is telling you, don't be afraid of losing, because it's from adversity you find strength. Okay, grasshoppers? Right, that's it. So anyway, we'll look at this game. Knight f3, d6. This is a Sicilian defence. Pawn takes, knight takes pawn. And the natural move is knight f6, right? This guy's a national master in the United States. Al Crossover, his name is. Knight c3. Remember, he's 2,375, just a shade under 2,400 rating. g6. Now, here we are. This is the key. Now, we're talking about an open dragon system, the deadly dragon system. Now, this is really important. You've got to listen carefully here, because if you're only a beginner, you're only 1,500, 1,600, it's very important that you understand the ideas behind the opening, and the move order is critical. Critical, right? Okay. So he's obviously going to develop his bishop, right? So it's even as early as this, I'm thinking 3 or 4 moves in front. I'm thinking, okay, I've got to get this right. Timing is important. So I play bishop c4. I don't want to play a passive game. I don't want to play like a bishop e2. If I want to win this game, I've got to play an active game. So I play bishop c4. He plays bishop g7. And now, I really would like to play bishop here, but I can't because he's got knight here. He attacks my good bishop. Okay? And there's another variation in this opening that you've got to be really careful of. There's a trap. And the trap goes, if you play pawn bishop 3 first, to protect your pawns, to stop knighting, you can play knight c6. I'll show you. Pawn here, right? And then if you play pawn there, knight c6, right? Then if you play bishop here, he's got queen here. And that's his accelerated dragon. Oh, it's deadly stuff. And now he's threatening to take the pawn, right? And if you move back to protect your pawn, you play knight takes pawn here. And you're busted. You're busted. Your position's busted. Okay? So it's a strange sort of game, you know, like, yeah. So, yeah, so you've got to be really careful with this opening. So even as early as this, bishop g7, I played, they're not now, I'll get that right, wait a second. So in that position, I played bishop there. He played bishop g7, then I played bishop back. I don't like that bishop being attacked early, so I retreat the bishop. And look, this bishop move here also stops that idea of queen here and queen takes pawn, right? He's got to come up with another plan because he hasn't got that plan anymore, okay? See, when he castles, now I take the opportunity to play f3, right? See the f3 move? That stops his knight moves, okay? And so then when he gets his knight out, I can still comfortably put my bishop there. And so now if he plays queen b6, well, I could just simply play knight here and attack his queen and his bishop, right? Okay? So therefore, queen b6 is no good in this variation, okay? So he takes the knight and I recapture. And he played bishop there. All right. So I thought to myself, what do I do here? I tried bishop takes bishop the other day, and the computer wasn't too happy with me. Anyway, I took it. That's when I took it. Yeah, the computer said that's not really great. But I played queen to d3, and I thought maybe I can get this little move in. I thought this is a good developing move, clears my back rank, and I can get developed. Anyway, he played queen there. So I popped my queen in here, and I don't know whether he saw that move or not. But he played a good move. He played pawn there. Now, I think my correct reply should be pawn takes pawn. Right? That's the correct reply. But I didn't. I moved the queen back there. And then we played rook here. I thought, okay, I castled. I wasn't worried about this rook coming down here, right? Because I've got some pressure on this pawn. So he played rook there. And I thought, all right, so I'll take the pawn off. And now he's looking at it thinking, oh no, the national master out crossover. He's thinking, oh, what's he done? So he takes the pawn. So I just take his knight. You see how the timing of the opening, how the position tends to look easy, but in actual fact, there was technical little corrections and things like that in the game. Bishop takes, and now I missed the best move. I played knight takes pawn. You say, oh, but that looks like a good move, Johnny. Threatens his rook, threatens knight takes bishop, double check. Great move. No, the correct move is rook takes pawn. Because I think his queen's trapped. His queen's trapped. It's got nowhere to go. If your queen goes here, I just go over here and say, hey, check, buddy. Oh, no, hold on. Now, where do I go? Oh, queen there. I could check. You can put his queen in. Oh, the filthy scum. Well, the computer told me that that was best. I'm only saying what the computer said. Oh, rook check here wins a rook. Yes, the computer's right. Rook check there wins a rook. So you win either the queen or a whole rook. So rook takes pawn is the best move. The computer's right. Okay. But I played knight takes pawn. I only had 2 minutes on my clock. And then he didn't know what to do, so he gave me a check. So I pushed a pawn on his bishop, as if to say, well, take it off. I'll take you off with check. That'll teach you. And he played rook here. So what did I do then? Oh, I just took his bishop, I think. And that's the end of the game. How's that? Hey? 20 moves and you beat a national master. United States national master, 2,375. Boom, boom, boom. That's how it's done, buddy. That's how it's done. Okay, so we'll go back here and we'll see if we can find some other games. Here's one here. That's 32 moves. 32 moves. What was it? Radist? Zaitsev Evgeny was a good one. Wonder where Zaitsev Evgeny is. That was a Nydorf Sicilian. And there was Strua Irishawa as well. Now, this isn't a bad game, this one. But my opponent made a mistake, like they all do. I'll go through it quickly, just for the fun of it. It's a fun game, right? Right here. All right then. So here we go. We're looking at the e-pawn openings, pawn to e4 openings. We've been looking at the King's Gambit. We saw a game against the Grandmaster, which was a draw. So I had a game against the Grandmaster, nearly 2,600 the other day. Knight f3, knight there, bishop, knight 5. Oh, we've got a Rye Lopez here. So we're from an e4 pawn instead of a King's Gambit. We've got a Rye Lopez. Knight f3, castles. Just offering the pawn. Oh, this guy's 2217. So he's still 2,200. Oh, I don't normally play that, right? This is just like a gambit. He took it off. I pushed the pawn on his bishop. He went there and I played pawn here. Now, this is a funny little system because the whole idea is he wants to just hold this pawn at all costs. Right? So I had a different plan. I had a plan to push this pawn forwards and win a piece. So how did I go about that? Well, he played queen there. So I simply played rook to e1 and protected my pawn. Because I know that he can't take that pawn off because he'll lose a piece to pawn here, won't he? Right? Okay, so he played pawn there, so I played knight here. And then he castled, so I played knight there. Now have a look at the position, will you? He's all blocked up. His position's all blocked up. White's got lovely development, and we've sacrificed one pawn for this wonderful game. And he hit the bishop, and I said, thank you very much. And I took his knight, and he recaptured, and we played pawn takes pawn. And we're simply threatening the bishop and the knight. And that's the end of the game. Right? So that was a good game, wasn't it? Wasn't that quick? He was 2,217 and he was lost in 12 moves. The game went on for 32 moves, but eventually he lost anyway. I'll show you the rest quickly. Played bishop there, I took his knight, he took with the queen. I pushed the pawn on his queen, give him no room to move. I played bishop into bishop to offer the swap, change of bishops. Don't let him have any pressure at all on my king. He played bishop back there, so he had to be defensive. Even though he's a pawn down, he had to be defensive. So I played bishop to f4. Just improved my bishop. Bishop opens up my castle as well a little bit. And played queen there, so I moved my bishop back. Played rook here. He's getting his pieces working. Played a knight up, attacked his queen. I want to harass his queen a little bit. Queen there. Rook to b1. I just thought, oh, I'll just change rooks. He played rook there. My knight's on that rook, buddy. Look, my knight's on that rook. So I took it off. He took back, played knight here. He went there, so he wants a long diagonal attack on my king down to g2. Right, but you've got to remember, he's actually a castle down. So I played queen to d4 and I just improved my position. He played pawn there, so I took it off. And I take everything off because my knight is defending the mate, right? All my pieces are perfectly placed. So I played rook there, threatening queen takes pawn. Played pawn there, now his position's blocked. He wants me to take the pawn off. But I don't have to. I can just sit there all day if I wanted to. But I took it. I thought, well, you only live once. What's he going to do? So he moved there. So I played knight hits queen. Notice my knight's protecting the pawn again, and I'm attacking his queen. He played queen there. And so I played queen here. I'm still got my knight protected, and I'm attacking his castle. So he played rook there. So he thinks he's attacking. So I played rook to e3 and protected that pawn with the idea of attacking his queen. So he played rook hits knight. And I said, oh, good, well, I hit you. Oh, no, my knight, I said. And guess what? He took it. So then I said, I have a plan. Check. King here. Checkmate. Wasn't that easy? There we go. That was a 32 moves and he was 2,200. So again, another win for the forces of goodliness and kindliness. But I did want to show you some very nice games. I want to show you some very nice games that were played yesterday. Let's see now. 28, little tinny. Was it a good game? No, that wasn't a good game. I want to say it wasn't a good game. My opponent didn't play very well. I played all pawns, 2,310. Would you like to see me playing the black pieces or an attacking game with the white pieces, Sky? There was one game there. Played so many games. I've been playing so many games lately. I did play some smashing games. I was what about this one? He just resigned there. They tend to give up against me. They realise that I've got them and they give up. They won't let me give them the big checkmate, the big kibosh. I'm going to look for this game. I'm going to do a search. Opponent. I'm going to put. Looking for a game against Evgeny Zaitsev. It was a good game. Only lasted a few moves, I think. It's looking. Oh, here it is. All right, so we'll go through this game. I'll just double check it 1 second. Yeah, this game was played on December 18, right? So it's played 2 days ago. Right, and I'm just going to show you how to attack with the white pieces. E4, because we're looking at the King's Pawn openings today. We're playing Evgeny Zaitsev. He's 2,340. And when you play someone like this, you've got to be on your game. They know what they're doing. This is real master strength level, right? I'm only rated 2,200 here. He's rated a whole 132 rating points ahead of me. So I'm playing knight to f3, d6. But my rating went down to 2,200. I think right now it's about 2,260 or something. Right, so he played d4, takes, and now we're looking at the Sicilian. Knight to f6, knight c3. He played a6. This is Najdorf. I actually played the black side of this, and I played the white side. So I like to attack the Najdorf, and I like to defend with the Najdorf. So I've turned it into a strength, both sides, right? And that's when you understand an opening. That's why I say to you, play the games over and over and over again. Doesn't matter how many you lose, you will be improving because your knowledge of those types of positions will start getting locked into that brain, right? And that's what it's all about. Pattern recognition. The Grandmasters will tell you all about pattern recognition if you read up on it. Bishop c4. Again, I didn't play bishop e2. I want to play bishop c4. I'm not worried about him hitting my bishop. If I lose a pawn, I lose a pawn. I don't care. I just want to get all my pieces maximised potential to attack, right? So he played e6. And guess what I did? I moved my bishop back, right? That preemptive move so that if he plays pawn here, my bishop's already here, right? And he played bishop e6. e7. And straight away, I looked at the position. I thought to myself, well, hold on a minute. That's not how I learnt to play chess. I thought that if you did that, this pawn was a bit weak. You're supposed to play queen c7 and stuff like that, and b5, and the bishop's supposed to stay here in the Sicilian. So these are common things that you pick up. So I thought to myself, okay then, I'm going to just take his pawn off. It's only a lightning game, just see what happens. He took back. I'm attacking his queen. He moves his queen over there, so I take a pawn with check. And he goes there, and I play knight there. And I'm thinking, well, that's not such a bad position. I've got 3 pawns for my little piece. Right? Anyway, he went back knight there. So I took his knight off. Right? And he took with the bishop, so I gave him a check. Okay. Have you noticed anything about this particular position? Well, yes, I haven't castled, but it's all about timing in these kind of positions. He hasn't got a lot of decent moves. His best move is probably king here. It's probably his best. But, yeah, king there would probably be his best move. But he made a mistake. He went here. So I gave him another check. Have a look at this position, will you? I haven't castled. I've sacrificed a piece. I've stolen all his pawns. And now I've got my knight down on his e8 square where his king started from. And his king's been wandering all over the board. And now he moves up there and I take off his good bishop. So he takes with the knight. So I give him a big check. And so now I'm on his castle. I haven't even castled yet. I've stolen every pawn on the board. He's rated 2,340. We've stolen everything. Anyway, he thinks one last offence. He plays queen there, so I gave him a knight check, right? And now he says, oh, how do I hold my queen? Only one square, so I gave him a check down there. And I'll tell you what, he didn't like that check. He didn't like that one at all. But he went back, so I thought, well, all right, I'll castle. Have a look at White's position. White hasn't stopped attacking. White's never stopped attacking. From the very onset of the game, we sacrificed a bishop on e6. We captured 3 pawns for our bishop. We've taken everything he's got. His king's still in the middle. His king blocks his bishop. His castle's boxed in the corner. White's rooks are connected. There's a discovered check coming against the king. What would you do in that position? Well, he resigned. So there you go. That's how easy it is. 2,340. Okay, wasn't that easy? 20 moves. 20 moves, that's right. I've got another one. I'll show you how to beat National Master Ali crossover. Right? Do you want to, oh, we showed you that one, didn't we?